electricity consumers, but not be able to get the goods in. And so that's what caused us to start looking around for facilities where we could begin to do more of the production inside the United States. And in talking to our partners in contract manufacturing, they proposed Utah. And we said, oh, Utah, okay, that sounds pretty good. Let me think about it for a minute. It's near where a lot of these facilities are going in the western United States, has great access to roads. There's good people that we can hire and staff these facilities. This makes a lot of sense, and that led to this facility opening in 2022. We've done a lot of systems out of here, so we originally started with a smaller product. Now you've seen the bigger products, much larger, much heavier. So we've already gone through a few generations of production here. And then last year we brought in the module manufacturing line as a new investment to continue to expand this facility. And so we've liked being here. We like the opportunity to be in Utah. We see opportunities to continue to grow here and complement U.S.-based supply chain that we've been growing to support the electricity industry growth. And one of the most important things that we're seeing now is real growth in electricity demand in the United States. So it's general demand as well as very focused demand around artificial intelligence and computing systems. And that is looking for places it can go to find reliable, low-cost electricity. Projections are for very massive increases. And so folks are actively out looking at how do we build new electricity generation? How do we build reliable power? Batteries are right at the heart of that, both in terms of the affordability and the reliability of this. And so we've been excited to be in that. We've seen all that's going on. Partly this facility and partly some of the other ones that we've done have taken advantage of the federal tax credits, which are a benefit that come from companies investing in domestic manufacturing. And so we've been excited to see the U.S. government supporting that. There's a lot of discussion right now about where that will go. We're hopeful that that will continue to be something that we see our government continue to support in the form of investment tax credits that allow you to make investments and then have some runway to seeing where those go. We're very excited about this facility and the ability to scale it up into the future and to continue to expand it. And I want to welcome one of the supporters of a lot of what we've been doing in clean energy as well as in domestic manufacturing, Senator Curtis.
Well, I'm delighted to be with you today, and there seems to be a clear delineation between a front row media and those who actually work and do the work around here. We're in a vest, and I'm pleased to speak with both of you. As I was thinking about this, I want to share two quick things with you. And looking around the room, there are very few of you that will appreciate this first story, and that was when I was a young man. There was an oil embargo. A foreign actor decided they wanted to try to manipulate the United States by withholding oil, and we were ground to a stop as a country in many ways, and people were lining up to fill up their cars with gasoline, and based upon your license plate number you could come on even days or odd number days. And what we learned from that, and it was in the 70s, was that we did not want to be dependent on other countries for our energy. And at that time, as a country, we made a decision that we were not going to be dependent on other countries for our energy. And this was not a Republican thing, and it was not a Democrat thing, it was a United States thing. And we set out not knowing how we were going to accomplish that, but knowing it was important. Well, let me fast forward you to another story. I happened, because of my responsibilities in Congress, to have been in Europe on 2 days before Russia invaded Ukraine. And I was there the day Russia invaded Ukraine and several days after. And I watched as Europe had an awakening that they were dependent on an enemy for their energy. And that was a really bad place to be. So some people wonder why I'm such an advocate for what you do here, and why I'm an advocate for all the choices of energy that we make here in the United States. And it's because I believe passionately that our nation's prosperity, that our nation's freedom, all depend on our ability to produce our own energy and actually produce more energy so other people are dependent on us. What you do here is a piece of that puzzle. And I want it to stay, hopefully in Utah, but certainly in the United States. Because it is bigger than just providing energy. It's our national security that we're talking about. And your success, and not just your success, but Friday I'm going down to a geothermal plant in Beaver, their success. And our oil and gas that comes out of the basin, that by the way is 40% cleaner than what's produced in Russia, their success is very important. And everything that we do in this country to make us energy independent and, quite frankly, energy dominant is very important. And I was teasing in the other room, our governor wants to increase the amount of energy that we produce by double in the next 10 years. And if he were here, I'd put my arm around and say, Governor, I love you, but that is not enough. There are demands coming on energy that far exceed doubling in 10 years. Well, where's that going to come from? I wanted to come from Utah. And I'm so pleased when I see innovation and see things like this, and it's not just this, it's everywhere you look in Utah, at the innovation that's coming from this great state. I have no doubt that we can lead not just the country, but the world in energy, which is, here again, the key to our prosperity. Now, right now in Washington, there's a lot of interesting conversations going on that impact you in a pretty significant way. And those conversations go something like this. We hate the IRA, and it was called the Inflation Reduction Act, so can we just admit that was a bad name, right, for it? And a lot of Republicans don't like it because we weren't included in it. We didn't get a chance to vote for it. And one of my missions right now in Washington is to point out that there are a lot of Utah/Republican/conservative principles in that we want to make sure that we make good decisions on. And part of that is this energy independence that I want for our country. So a lot of discussion is going on, but I want you to know I find myself in that camp of saying, be very careful with the decisions that we make and what we do, so we don't do anything that messes with that energy independence that's so important. President Trump has an agenda to be energy dominant and to bring energy prices down. You all are a big piece of that agenda, and it's very, very important. So if we have time, I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, please.
That either those of you that work here or the media have, either one. If there's any questions, I can answer for you. I knew there had to be some, yes.
Talking about those federal tax credits, the budget making its way through Congress does have language to repeal those Inflation Reduction Act green credits. Is that a concern for the future of clean energy? Is that something that you're going to try to adjust when it does come to the Senate?
It very clearly is a problem for the future, and I'll say not just of clean energy, but of energy. So, for instance, one of those tax credits is carbon sequestration. It's a big deal for our fossil fuel industry. And so I think it's important to point out here again, it affects all types of energy. So I have been an advocate that not necessarily that we should take it all at face value, but that we should carefully evaluate everyone and make sure that it's a good decision for our country and for our energy future. The House did pass a bill that dramatically curtailed those. My friends in the House kind of call me up and say, listen, we're counting on you to fix it. So I think even many of them knew that what they sent over did need some work, and that's now our job in the Senate to put our stamp on that and have it speak for our will. And I think if I have anything to say about it, I'll make sure that we're taking into account our energy future, not just the fact that it was in the IRA and we didn't like it because it was in the IRA. So I had a brief tour. It was brief, but it was enough to be very impressive. I actually had a manufacturing business. I don't know if everybody knows that. We built shooting ranges. And I hate to admit this, but when you walked out onto our floor, it was noisy and dusty and loud, and things were all over the place. And when I walked out there, it's clearly very organized, very clean. Those of you that work here should be very proud of the working environment that you have. And it was very impressive. And you see a lot of automation, and yet you still see a lot of employees doing the work. It's very impressive. And I wish all my colleagues in Washington could see that. Yeah, and we've got some elected officials. I don't know if you have questions or any of the employees. I can talk about my grandkids, or I can be done if you don't have questions. Okay, good. Thank you very much. It's great to be with you today.
Sorry about that, I'm getting directions.
Yes, directions.
That concludes our program?
Yes, but we'd love to take a photograph of everyone.
Okay.
So, Senator, I think probably the best thing to do if you could come back on stage. And then have all of you, the audience, if you don't mind standing up and coming. Probably not the best. But if you could come and stand behind